this time, Laraxus continued to wreak havoc on distant kingdoms. Like a festering colony, his power continued to grow as more and more humans were captured by his alluring darkness. By this point, nearly half of the entire planet had been consumed and destroyed. Enta was completely locked in her defensive maneuver and watched helplessly as her heart burned in sorrow, hoping dearly that the Sentinels would find each other. But Neo was busy with the routine of his daily life, as was the rest of the Kingdom of Orison. The neighboring nation to the east, known as Icane, however, had been actively engaged in defending their eastern borders from hordes of Laraxus's armies from distant eastern lands. A cry for help was sent, and the King of Orison sent troops to bolster their front lines. Laraxus then allowed some of his puppets a measure of autonomy to pass under the watchful eyes of law enforcers, and spearheaded forth through the southern regions of Icane and into Orison. This infiltration had gone completely unnoticed. Word of strange disturbances and stories from a town near the border known as Ralstead began to spread. Maze being a member of a close circle of elite wizards and officials, a knight was sent to his cabin to bring word of an assignment from the king himself. Something was up, and this mystery required the expertise of a wizard. Sir Gordon, knight of the King's Royal Task Force, made his way through the lands, carrying sensitive documents and reports. Upon arrival at his cabin, Maze welcomed the knight in and beckoned Evelyn and Neo as they all convened at the round table. The old wizard glanced at the bundle of parchment as Sir Gordon sat down in his chair, the light from the fireplace and various candles dancing across his regal armor.
What word do you bring, Sir Gordon?
That of unfortunate circumstances.
This is no menial task?
No, sir. A contract from the king himself. Shall I share the details?
Please do.
Very well. Approximately 4 months ago, disturbances were reported from various sources, mostly from merchants who frequent the area and other visitors, of strange behaviors of the residents of Rolstead. Are you aware?
I've not heard such things. How do you mean strange behaviors?
Details are limited. The summation of the information gathered amounted to, quote, animalistic and aggressive behavior, as if possessed by spirits, end quote. About 3 months ago, a scout was dispatched in response to investigate these reports. He never returned. A second scout was dispatched 2 weeks after the first assigned return date to retrieve him. Nothing much was thought of it. Occasionally, soldiers may become distracted, as you might understand, but the second scout did not return either.
That is peculiar.
In light of our reports and our scouts not returning, the worst is assumed. They are dead or perhaps possessed. We don't specifically know. There is also speculation this might have to do with the active war on Icane's eastern border, but that is also uncertain. The king found this operation particularly intriguing and decided to get involved. We intended to send a company of soldiers, but Our Majesty instead ordered we contract a wizard.
Icane is at war? With who?
New Valtim. It's been almost 6 months since they attacked seemingly for no reason. They're throwing everything they have. Icane and New Valtim have been close allies for centuries. It's definitely a head-scratcher. Let's focus on the matter at hand, however. Here's a map of the area. Rolstead is a moderately sized town. Approximately 1,500 people according to our census last year. And here are the contract details. What say you?
The situation is uncanny to say the least. All who doth set their signature upon this parchment shall thereby becometh agents of the king's royal task force. The undersigned of this accord are bound to the following duties: to probe into anomalies and civil upheavals, to uphold the law of the realm, and to employ whatever force may be requisite to sustain and preserve tranquility amongst all fashions. In regards to the settlement known as Rolstead.
What if we all went? Does the contract allow that?
It is not restricted to one person. The more the better.
I think this is the perfect opportunity to put both your skills to the test, to get some experience. Are you interested?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll go.
Sign here on these lines.
It's settled then. Please begin your investigation as soon as possible, and keep watch for any flags or markings that belong to New Valtim.
With no reason for delay, Maze helped the young mages in preparing their gear and situating the leather armor he had provided years back, all the while reminding them crucial tips and techniques that he had drilled into them. The very next morning, they took off shortly after dawn, riding on Casper's back. Even though it wasn't his first time flying, Neo was still unaccustomed to the sensation. The feeling of freedom that was provided by gliding over the clouds brought a smile to his face as he watched the forest move underneath them. Due to the lower temperatures, they used magic to provide a shield of warmth around their bodies, working together to maintain the effect. After many hours of flight, when the sun had completed 3/4 of its journey through the sky, they saw the town of Rolstead appear in the distance. A wide area of trees had been cut down years ago to make way for farmland and buildings. Being from Gallon, it was the largest settlement Neo had ever seen. Evelyn gave a loud whistle that carried over the roaring winds. Casper turned his head and acknowledged, and tilted his wings as they descended to the trees below. Neo's knuckles were as white as the clouds as he firmly gripped Casper's spikes that ran along his spine, and they quickly sliced through the air towards a meadow with just enough room. The mighty dragon beat his wings to catch their descent, his claws reaching for the ground, and with a resounding thump, they touched down. The fun had worn off hours prior, and Neo was glad to be on solid ground once again.
I'm exhausted. I've never maintained a spell that long before.
Me too.
So why did we land so far away? Rolstead looks to be an hour's walk.
Remember when you first met Casper?
Oh, yeah, people would be terrified. Sorry, Casper. If we leave now, we should be able to make it before sundown.
Right. Let's go.
The young mages bade farewell to Casper, who settled down in the tall grass, resting his head on his forepaws for a well-anticipated nap. And off they went. The sun hung low in the sky, and the forest sighed as a gentle breeze filtered through the trees. Neo and Evelyn crested a hill, and there just before them were the outskirts of Rolstead. They continued forward, venturing down the main road to the gates as they passed fields of wheat dancing in the wind. All was calm and quiet, but the atmosphere weighed heavily, and the air was filled with an unsettling sensation. The two cautiously made their way closer to the main gates, passing by windmills whose blades turned ever so slowly. To the side of the road, leaning against the wall, was an elderly man with ragged clothes. As they drew closer, they could hear more clearly what he was saying.
The fields need tending to. The fields need tending to.
Stop.
What? What?
The fields need tending
Look at
to.
him. Something's wrong with him.
The fields need tending to.
Excuse me, sir? Sir?
The fields need tending to.
Talk to him. See what you can find out. I'll keep watch.
The fields need tending to.
Evelyn adjusted her quiver of arrows and straightened the longbow across her chest and carefully approached the old man, who continued to mutter this same sentence, almost like a chant.
The fields need tending to.
As she came closer, his features became clearer. His skin was pale, his eyes were dark, and his body was thin and frail. Evelyn placed a hand on the hilt of her dagger.
The fields need tending to. The fields need tending to.
Are you all right?
The old man stopped and slowly turned his head to look at her, as if his neck were made of stone joints. She gazed back into his dark eyes.
Sir? Do you need healing?
The fields need tending to. The fields need tending to.
Tingles ran up and down her spine, and her hair stood on end. Something was terribly wrong. Gathering her mana, she knelt before the man and opened her mind, attempting to examine his being. But there was nothing. There was no font of mana, not a single trace of life. It was as if she was looking at a bag of sand. Evelyn moved back to Neo, who stood at attention with a hand on the hilt of his sword.
What is it?
He has no soul. I didn't see a single drop of mana within his being.
That's impossible.
I don't understand it either, but he doesn't seem to be a threat.
Let's walk through the town. See what we can find.
Together they passed through the main gates, keeping an eye on the old man, who continued to quietly chant. As they walked, the dirt road below then turned to cobblestone streets with 2-story buildings on each side. The area was utterly silent, and not a single person could be seen. But then a noise reached their ears, and they decided to find its source. They ventured further towards the center of the town, hearing the sound of many voices, and as they turned a corner, there stood a crowd of people in a large open space.
Hello there. Hey, fret not, you ain't too tardy. The ale match is about to commence. Oh, I say, you seem rather flustered, mate. You need a pint?
No thanks.
Neo and Evelyn remained on the edge of the crowd, which seemed to amount to perhaps several hundred people, and shared a look. They watched as the people gathered around a table in the center of the square, and bystanders began chanting and cheering for their champion as they chugged large mugs of ale. It seemed then that all was well. But questions yet remained about the old man at the gate. Nevertheless, people started to leave the square as the sun began to cross the horizon. All the while, Neo and Evelyn quietly waited and watched, scanning the area with magic.
None of these people have mana. It's as if they are statues.
I don't know. They seem to be behaving normally.
Either way, we can't stay out all night. Let's find an inn.
The two wandered about, passing by people going about their business along the cobblestone roads until they encountered an inn. The main room held a number of people occupying the tables, drinking from mugs of ale. A man behind the counter waved them over.
Oh there, how can I lend a hand? Need a pint?
We need a room for the night.
Right, put your mark here on this parchment. That'll cost you a gold piece and 3 shiny silvers, mate.
Neo quickly scanned the room and leaned closer as he placed the coins on the counter. The innkeeper took the hint and leaned forward also, his eyes narrowing.
We encountered a strange old man at the front gates. He was chanting to himself.
Oh, that be Gats. He's been a bit addled these past months. But don't you worry, he's harmless, that one.
I see. I'm looking for 2 men from the military. Have you seen any?
Only officials I've seen are them guards about town.
Any strange stories?
I hear lots of tales. Of what kind you speak of?
Possession? Spirits?
No. No clue about that. Be about your business now.
He stepped back, grabbing the key that the man placed on the countertop, and beckoned Evelyn to follow. In their conversation, the entire room had fallen silent, and as the two made their way up the stairs, a select few maintained a dark gaze.
There is something wrong with this place.